Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Return and Remember podcast. I'm so excited and honored to be joined today by an incredible woman who has fucking blossomed in front of my eyes for the last few years. Lauren McGee. Hello, my love. How are you?
Oh, hello, Claudia. Thank you so much for having me. This is wild.
I know, right? So, for a bit of back preference and bit of a backtracky. So, Lauren and she was actually one of my first ever clients. Wild, right? And
Wow.
now she's
Hmm.
coming on the podcast. She's going to be sharing all things around stress management, her journey, how to regulate your central nervous system, the ins and outs of doing that, and just where she's going in her life. And when I met Lauren, she was in a completely different spot. So, yeah, I'm excited to delve deep into that a little bit. It's going to be amazing.
Yes, it's an overdue catch up that we've needed to do. So why not do it on the podcast?
Yeah, literally, literally. Okay, perfect. So, for those that don't know, who is Lauren? What does she do? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, okay. Well, Lauren is a stress management and stress resilience expert who helps corporate workers and corporate businesses manage their stress so they can basically really grow as a business and organization, retain their staff, and really prioritize the employees' well-being.
Mm.
And Lauren works for a business called Workplace Performance and Wellbeing Institute, which she actually co-founded with her amazing partner, Jason. So that's what I'm doing at the moment. That's my main focus. Yeah.
I love that. And it's been so beautiful to, yeah, obviously see your journey. So we met, around 2 years ago in 2022. What a fun
Yeah. Wow.
time.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
I know a lot can change in 2 years. And I'd love to, yeah, go back into that time and tell us a little bit about your journey. So, like, where you started, how did this come, like,
Mm.
up? Like, it makes sense for me. And though, when you started talking about stress management, I was like, oh, this is cool because I didn't think you were going to go down that route. So, I'm even interested as to how you specifically got into that. So, yeah, tell
Mm.
the listeners today about how your journey has evolved.
Wow. Yes, 2 years. Okay. Well, I'll go back 2 years ago then. And 2 years ago, I'd just gone through a massive sort of grieving process. So much had changed for me even before then because I'd studied to be a paramedic and I went through my own journey during like my health and my mental health and letting go of that job that I'd put on a pedestal. So I'd studied so hard and I was doing all the things and applying, and then COVID hit and it went crazy, and really, really long story, but basically hit my version of burnout. So was feeling like heaps of mood swings, crazy headaches, just wasn't myself at all. Had heaps of tests done at the doctors and then had to have brain scans and things. And my doctor said that my hormones were worse than a 70-year-old in terms of my female hormones. Yeah. So I skipped 8 cycles total. And I basically went down this journey of holistic health because I was 23 years old at the time. So it was just before I met you. And I went to see an endocrinologist because that's what you're told to do when your hormones aren't right and the doctor doesn't know what's going on. And the endocrinologist knew nothing about me at all. We literally spoke for about 10 minutes, and she told me that if my period doesn't come back in about a month, then I probably need to go on hormone replacement therapy. So at a 23-year-old where, I'd never had anything happen in my health before this and no family history of anything, everything else seemed normal, was pretty healthy. I thought that is not the way I want to go. There has to be something else that I can do. But the doctor was astounded by how quickly my bloods had changed because I was always getting, routine checks and everything had been prior to that pretty normal. So I went on this journey on my own with a little bit of help from my brother because he's into holistic health. He's a corrective exercise coach, and his beautiful fiance, and went down this journey of listening to women's health podcasts, listening to holistic health podcasts, connecting in with different people in that space. And then that's when I found yoga and meditation because I knew that I needed to do something to change something within my lifestyle because I was so much in my sympathetic nervous system and I had no idea at the time. And that was what was creating this version of burnout that I was experiencing, where I literally, and I know like who I am now, probably wouldn't believe that at that time I was so flat, so depressed, had no motivation to do anything. And I had never felt like that before. I honestly felt empty, just nothing. And it was a scary time for me because it was probably the darkest moment of my life. And then that was the biggest pivotal moment of my life also, because if I hadn't listened to something needing to change, which I know you're huge on, right? Listening to something in my gut, even though it made absolutely no sense at the time, because I'd studied so hard for this and, worked so hard for this, and my family wanted me to do this, and society expected me to do this. Something in my gut, though, something out there was telling me I need to listen. And I remember I went on this beach walk, and it was the best beach walk because I got this huge download. It was the first time that I felt my chest close in, and I felt this sense of fear about having this job as a paramedic. And I thought, okay, if I'm starting to feel this sense of fear, which has never come in before, I really need to listen. And then I totally let it all go. And it was really hard. I went through this grieving process of letting this job go that I put on a pedestal. And I honestly thought I was going to be doing this for a large proportion of my life. And, I had many hours, many weeks on road experience, and I loved the job. Absolutely loved the job. I loved going into the community, speaking to people, getting to know them, asking deep questions, and making an impact. And I thought that was going to be my vehicle of doing that. But then having that pivotal moment, listening, letting it go, going through the grief, finding yoga and meditation, which helped me connect in with myself. I, found a passion for that, knew that I needed to learn more about the practice and the spiritual side that I'd kind of shut off for a while because I was going too far down the Western medicine route. And I thought if I was in Western medicine, I can't be spiritual. So I was kind of closing that off. Yeah. So then being a bit more open to that and meeting people within that space and that community, and so many beautiful people. And my teacher in yoga, Michelle, she's amazing. And then because I'd let that go, the paramedic side of things, I started to become a yoga teacher. And then I thought, wow, this is my vehicle of creating impact and asking people questions and getting to know them and guiding them. So I thought paramedic was the way, but then I thought maybe yoga teacher is the way. And then I found you through Claudia, through Chantel, your bestie here on the Gold Coast, through one of the events that she held. And I literally at that time, when I first met you, had probably only been teaching yoga for like a month. Because I think it was about June, July time that I met
Yeah.
you. So
Yeah.
we're literally coming up to 2 years that I first, collabed eyes to you. And yeah, I just remember that was a time where, yes, I loved teaching yoga, but I knew there was something more for me. I just didn't know what it was. Um, and I kept listening to this gut instinct of like, there's more, there's something else. You've got huge potential, you just don't really know what it is. And I had all of these limiting beliefs and trauma and family stuff going on that was sort of holding me back, and also needed people in my space that was kind of doing business, doing other things to open my eyes to the possibility as well. So meeting you was just at the best time because I'd already started this journey and been on this pivotal change. And then you came in, and I remember we had a conversation. I actually won the competition of that event that I met you at. And I won, I think, 2 sessions with you. And that's when we started diving into like NLP. Never heard of it in my life before. I thought, my goodness, what is this? Neuro-linguist, what? And they were 2 sessions that were quite very interesting, very confusing for my head because I'm very logical and science-based. So I was really confused, but also interested. And then you offered me obviously your one-on-one container after that. And I was hesitant because I'd never, ever invested money into myself ever. And so, even spending $1 on me was challenging at that time. Not now. Goodness, how much have I spent since then on myself and my business? It's exciting. But at that time, that was my first investment and my first coach. You were my first coach. So it took time. And I remember then I started diving into money blocks and money mindset. And then that's when I found other mentors. So I signed up with you. Amazing, amazing growth. I was the most shy person. Oh my God. Like, no way would I be sitting here on this podcast speaking and actually letting my voice out, because I think the throat chakra and the voice stuff was a massive block back then, right?
Yeah, and like I actually bought a red pair of shoes not too long ago, and I
Oh,
literally seen them, and I was like, Oh my fucking God. So we did this beautiful process, and
Yeah.
Lauren had these amazing, really potent, powerful red shoes that she wears when she wants to feel powerful. I remember a message you sent me, and it actually like made me really like happy tears.
Yeah.
Claudia, I did this thing and I wore the red shoes. And this was like after we finished coaching
Mm.
together. And I was like, and then like now, boom, like
Yeah.
expanding more than like, I feel like probably, I don't know, I don't even know. The way that you've just collapsed time and compounded your effort,
Mm.
so consistent in what you do and constantly leveraging the investments that you have made on yourself, it's beautiful to see this amazing evolution of you. So honestly, like
Yeah.
how fucking cool, like full
I
circle
know.
moment.
I know. And it's so exciting. And I can't preach this enough that when you actually say yes to yourself and you push through the discomfort and you really, yeah, spend the dollars and make it scary, feel a shake in your nervous system and do it anyway. The other side is, you can't even imagine. I
You
couldn't
can't,
imagine that
yeah,
I'd be sitting here doing this right now. I would not, when I first met you 2 years ago, be thinking, I'm going to run a corporate business with my partner.
yeah.
What? It's wild. I would not think that, or I'm going to be standing in front of, tens of people, or even hundreds of people on stage sharing my story, like I did last year at Dreamfest, and um, or delivering workshops that I've designed to
Yeah.
groups of people in workplaces. I never thought I would have done that because the scariest thing for me back then was having a voice in any capacity. And I remember when I started with you, we started small steps of let's just show up on social media, let's do some stories. And I remember doing the first talking story ever. I remember I was so scared. It took me about 20 attempts to get this thing done. And I was camping. Remember, I was traveling to Tasmania. And I remember I was at a campsite thinking, okay, I'll find a quiet spot. And I'm looking around thinking, oh, people are going to stare at me and think I'm so weird talking to my phone. I mean, what am I doing? And then I looked at it and I'm analyzing my face, going, I can't post that and cancel, let's do it again. It took me so long, but that's where I started. And it's so good to do those little small things that at the time you think, oh, it's so silly and it's so minor. And then 2 years later, you look back and go, wow, that's where I started. But that was necessary. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I remember looking at you and being like, fuck yes, Lauren. Like this is exactly what it's about. This is exactly
Yeah.
what I love that. Thank you so much for sharing your gorgeous story. And I love seeing the evolution, like I mentioned before. So you mentioned on a few different things, and I would love to go a bit
Mm.
deeper on the specifics and pros of working on your central nervous system and what you have found with the corporate deliveries that you have and the workshops that you offer. Like, what are the actual benefits of working on your stress management, and why is this useful for people to have in their everyday life?
Oh, I love that. Oh, okay. Well, there's so many things that come into stress management, but the benefits is, you are not yourself when you are stressed at the end of the day because, you tend to close off. You then close off to your relationships, anyone that is around you. You become this irritated, frustrated, angry version of you. Or you withdraw, you start to avoid. There's so many signs and symptoms of someone being in a chronic stress state. But how is that affecting your business? How is that affecting your work? How is that affecting your family and home life? Because your level of presence when you're home as well, we spend, it's said a third of our lifetime, but it's way more than that now in 2024 at work. So if we're not looking after ourselves when we're at work and, managing the stress that we have at work and then leaving it at work so we can come home and be the most present, loving version of ourselves with our loved ones, where does that leave us if we don't aim for that? Are you really living a life of fulfillment? Because otherwise, you're just going to be this stress head, angry and frustrated, and it just plays out on so many areas. Yeah.
Hey, listening to you speak, I'm like, wow, you are so in your fucking element right now. Like, I want to give you like this is amazing. I'm just like, I'm not even thinking about questions. I'm just like mesmerized by your fucking knowledge. Like, look at you
Oh,
go. I love that. I just want to commend you. Clicks and clicks.
oh, thank you.
Wow.
Clicks, clicks, clicks. I
No,
love that. I'm just really passionate about it because, I think I saw a lot of it when I was training to be a paramedic of people just feeling like a number and people being so not all paramedics, don't get me wrong, but if they've been in the job for a long period of time, they have that compassion fatigue for themselves and for those around them. And they're just doing the job, but they don't really want to be there. And they're just feeling tired and fatigued and empty and stressed. And they're not being looked after, but they're also not looking after their own health. So it's kind of a balance between, yes, the workplace has a duty to look after the individuals and the employees, but then you have a duty too, because we all have a choice. So what are you doing to help your mental health, your emotional health, and your physical health? And it's sort of a balance between the two. And I saw paramedics, yeah, just burning themselves into the ground and not lasting in the job that they thought that they would. And then where does that leave them? Lost and confused, and quite a dark place. And I see it all the time now as a yoga teacher. I mean, I literally saw it yesterday. I was having this conversation with this lady and hadn't seen her for a while. And I said, "Oh, I haven't seen you for a while. How are you going?" And she looked very down, very sort of withdrawn. And she said, "Oh, I'm not that great." And I was like, "Oh, okay, what's going on?" And it was just me and her talking off to the side. And she said, well, I've actually been really sick. I, was suffering from chest pain and all these health issues. So I went and got tested, and I've got a heart problem, and I'm now medicated for that. And then I got pneumonia, and then I got this, and then I got that. And she said basically I was out for 6 weeks and couldn't do much at all. And she said now I still feel awful, but I'm just medicated so much. And she's probably 50 years old. She's not old at all, and she has a heart problem. I don't actually know specifically what. She didn't go into that, but it made me really think, some people out there are really suffering from this thing called stress that we just think is normal. This
Yeah.
level of stress that we think is normal, and we don't do anything about it because we look at the people around us in our work, in our home, in our environment, and everyone, not everyone, but 90% of people are so stressed and go, 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 and they're almost have this egotistic way of being in stress. Oh, well, I'm stressed and you're not stressed. Okay, so are you not doing enough? Like, I'm doing so much. I'm so busy, 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 but it makes them feel significant to be in this sympathetic state. But then at the end of the day, it's just wearing you down and putting so much pressure on your system. Like 50 years old and she's now got a heart problem. It's just wild. And she was saying her job she hates, she's so stressed, and I could see her. I had this vision of her being a different person. I hardly see her smile, yet I could see that if she didn't have this burden of stress and now all of these physical health issues that have come from stress being accumulated over time, imagine what person she would be. She'd probably be like me and you, energetic and smiling and giving and this high vibration and frequency, but she's in this low vibration and frequency and she can get out of it, but she's stuck in this cycle and she doesn't know a way out.
Yeah, like thank you for sharing that, because I feel like that would definitely hit the nail on the head, because they do say, correct me if I'm wrong, like stress is the biggest like disease causer. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Like the
Well, the
root
number
cause,
one cause of death in Australia is heart attack, like heart disease, right?
right?
But stress is one of the main causes of heart disease. So they're not going to say that stress is the biggest killer, but it is,
Yeah. So what are
Yeah.
some of the impacts of stress? So what are some of the impacts of stress? And then what are some of the things that people can do with the stress to help release it? Like some processes and things like that. Like, yeah, some
Mm.
more
Yeah.
tangible. That would be
Yeah. Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah. Okay. I'll do my best to be as succinct as possible. Um,
Do you think?
so stress, what was the first question? How it affects them?
Yeah, like what are the impacts of stress pretty much on the body?
Mm. So stress is a natural response within the body, right? We need stress. And I think sometimes I might come onto these things and talk about it, and people think, oh, I just want to be stress free. No, when I'm teaching people and giving workshops, stress free is not what we want. Yes, you need a level of stress. However, it's about turning that level of stress into something that's going to propel you forward instead of dragging you back. Because there's two ways of using stress. And we have a spectrum, and you can tip over and you're going into this state of burnout and depletion, or you can hit this healthy level of stress, which is your peak performance. So I'm sure, Claudia, you feel a level of stress, but it's propelling you forwards because you want to reach the goals, you want to do all the things, And yes, your heart's racing sometimes, and maybe you're feeling a little nervous, or you're feeling like you got so many things happening. We spoke about it before the call, yet you're still feeling amazing and you're feeling inspired and you're feeling motivated because it's propelling you to get to this peak performance. So it's just about knowing kind of where you're at in your spectrum, and also using stress to propel you forward instead of dragging you back. Stress, when we don't acknowledge it, and we're in this higher end of the spectrum where it is getting to that high, we can't cope, we're getting into this sort of burnout phase, then it's putting so much stress on our system. Because if you think of us like, I think of the human body like a car, and imagine that you're driving to work in your car, and all the way to work, all you do is put your foot on the accelerator. What is going to happen? You're either going to crash into something, hurt the car, hurt yourself driving the car, going to burn the car out. It's going to go up in flames. You're going to run out of juice, and then where does that leave you? It leaves you in this sort of tricky spot to try and work out, okay, now we've completely depleted it, completely stuffed it. How can we then fix and mend this thing? But if you drive to work and you, yes, have moments on the accelerator, which is your sympathetic nervous system, but then also times on the brake, you're going to get to your destination safely, and you're probably going to enjoy the journey as well. Because I think so much we think that, we're more accomplished and we achieve more when we get things done faster. But I know for me personally, I've had moments in the past where I think that too. Okay, I want it now. I want it now. I want it now. But then you're in this heightened state all the time. Stress, go, 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 go. Sympathetic, masculine energy. And all you're doing is just depleting your system, putting pressure on your system. And you're also not enjoying the journey either, because when you actually have moments like we get stuck at a traffic light, you can either think, oh, I'm stuck at a traffic light. Now I'm going to be late to work. Or can you use that moment and go, oh, I can actually take a moment to breathe and look around and notice what is happening along my journey. So I don't know where I'm going with that, but I think I know what you get what I mean?
That was perfect. And I was going to ask about the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system. So I feel like that is absolutely perfect.
It's a
So
good analogy. Yeah.
yeah, great analogy. So in regards to any processes or rituals or practices, because, stress is an everyday response, like you mentioned.
Definitely.
So if everyone's going through this stress response and unsure how to regulate, what do we do?
Well, I personally at the start of the journey would suggest not putting more stress on your system. So of course, when you get to a healthy level now, when you regulate, yes, you can start to expand your nervous system, put stress on your system. But if we're already in this sympathetic state so much and we're feeling heightened all the time, let's actually take moments in our parasympathetic so we can start to heal parts of the body, start to regulate our emotions, start to become more present and connected. Because a lot of the time when this heightened state, we're moving so fast and everything's happening within the system that we're so disconnected. We start to dissociate. We've got these racing thoughts, but we have no idea what's actually happening, and we can't connect in with ourselves. I know that was a huge part of my story and how I reached burnout. So for me, the first thing when I work with people is building that level of awareness. So do you even know you're in a stressed state? Because like I said before, so many people think it's normal because they look around and everyone else is go, go, go and stressed and in their masculine. So let's take a moment. Okay, have a reflection. How are you feeling? And so many points that you can make is like, what's your breath doing? Is it short and shallow? Because that's a stress response. That's not normal, because you're breathing short and shallow all day isn't normal. And it's actually really unhealthy. So moments like that, is your mind racing all the time? Do you get a lot of headaches? Do you get a lot of neck pain? Because our vagus nerve travels from, our brain all the way down through the neck to the lungs, all the way to the gut. And if your parasympathetic nervous system isn't switched on and activated, then the vagus nerve isn't either. It's going to start getting irritated. It starts to send signals. And then that's when these tissues start to get inflamed and sore, and we actually get tightness.
What? Oh my
Yeah.
God, you're blowing my fucking mind. Keep going. I was just like, so we're doing this on Zoom, obviously, guys, and she could see my face. And I was like, whoa, this is wild. But keep going, babe. I love that. Keep sharing. This is so amazing. I was just mind blown. I couldn't hide it.
And then if you go down the sort of yoga philosophy route, which I absolutely love, you've got the yang meridians in the Chinese medicine that cross at the back of the neck. So when we're in our yang, in our go, go, go all the time, we are just clogging up the system at the back there. So because the meridians are like a river, right? That is constantly flowing through the body, just moving energy, moving our life force energy, our prana. But when we have stagnant energy, as you know in your teach, Claudia, it's like the river is getting a blockage and the water can't travel anymore, and you're just getting this stagnant pool of energy. So that is what's happening at the back of the neck, because you've got the yang meridians literally cross at the back of the neck. But then you're this vagus nerve firing irritated signals because you're not tapping into your parasympathetic. It's like, hello, I'm still here. So ways to combat that, if you're sitting here right now thinking, oh my neck is sore, my shoulders are really tight, then start to do deep breathing exercises. So holding onto your stomach and get the breath down into the belly, because when we're stressed and it becomes normal, we're probably breathing through our chest 99% of the time and we have no idea. It's funny when people step into my yoga classes, they are like, wow, I haven't taken a deep breath or a proper breath in days. Yeah. Or they don't breathe through their nose. I mean, there's so many issues. And you've got the book The Breath by James Nestor. Have you read that?
No.
Oh, it's a beautiful book. And he was interviewed by Stephen Bartlett on his podcast as well. Amazing podcast. And it talks about the importance of the breath and how, when we don't actually breathe optimally, then it leads into all of these chronic health issues. So yeah, so many chronic health issues are linked in with the breath.
I'm getting really emotional right now.
Oh, okay.
I am so proud of you. I just got this whole wave of like gratitude flood through my body. You're
Oh,
fucking incredible, Lauren.
you're gonna make
Thank
me cry.
you for sharing all this. Honestly, allow it to expand your heart, babe. You're
Mm.
blowing my fucking mind. And you are so incredible. And honestly, it has been a pleasure seeing you grow. Wow. That was like so random. But I was like, I was just looking at you and I was like, fuck, you're an incredible woman.
Oh,
Thank
thanks,
you for doing this
Claudia.
work. Thank you for doing this work. It is so profound. And you've completely changed your life doing this work, right?
Definitely.
And
Yeah.
hundreds of others.
Yeah. I mean, I was in
Right.
burnout. When we first met, I was the most angry, frustrated person that I've ever met.
You're just a reflection. I was feeling angry and shit that back then too. So that's absolutely fine. So, okay, cool. I'm getting back to center because I was just felt so much emotion. Thank you,
Well,
Lauren.
thank you. Thank you
Thank
for being
you.
honest and vulnerable and showing emotion, because a lot of time we don't, right? Mm,
And we could segue that into stress. So in regards to
definitely.
emotions and how that then compounds with the stress response of the body, are people then becoming more reactive, more irritating, like more dissociated? Like what is the general
Mm,
like process or flow of with people that have a compounded stress level? What are they usually tended to do and how can
yeah.
we help that?
That's a great question. I definitely want to do so much more research into emotional intelligence because it's so interesting, hey. But what I've sort of found is that initially, when we're starting to get into this stress response for a period of time, we're more reactive. So we're more sort of irritated, frustrated, angry because, as they're lower density frequencies, um, and that's kind of where we're stuck at. It comes back to like guilt and shame that we're feeling as well. So many things are happening when we're in this sort of stress response, go, go, go. Are you feeling guilty because you're not getting enough done? Are you feeling guilty because you've got this sense of pressure that you've got to perform at work? So all
Does
of this
that
sort of stuff is building.
Beautiful. Sorry to interrupt, but that actually just sparked a question. Does that actually then compound even more stress with the should cycle? Like,
Definitely. Yes. And we put more
okay.
pressure on ourselves, and then we feel like we're not good enough. And then we're just going around this cycle.
Shame cycle, hey? Wow.
So
That
all of
makes
that's playing in, yeah. But a lot of people obviously aren't aware that, these things are playing under the surface and that they're actually feeling these emotions. So then once it starts to get to this point of unbearableness and, we know something's not right, but we don't know what to do about it. And maybe we're too busy and too stressed to seek help. This is the problem as well. We start to see the avoidance side of things. So, we you move into that outer circle of compensation circle, and that's when we distract and we avoid. So we're probably turning to our phones more, we're probably watching TV and binge watching stuff on Netflix. We're probably not communicating properly to our partner at all because we're so dissociated and disconnected. Yeah, we're just doing those avoidance habits, so substance use, yeah, heaps of those sorts of behaviors because we are just suppressing our emotions even more.
Interesting. That is so freaking cool. So in regards to if someone does resonate with the dissociation or not being able to communicate efficiently or just feeling like I had a client call today and she's like, I'm just so stressed and I feel like anything will just like rock me. So it's like
Mm.
when you see people present in that way, what is the best thing that you could actually advise for them to do to decompress and to actually come to center? What are
Mm.
the ways you can
Well,
do?
you'd be the perfect mentor for this because you teach all this stuff, right? Even if you don't consciously know it's to do with stress, 100% it is, but it's just about giving them a process to open up their heart space and to start to feel safe within their body. Because a lot of the time well, yeah, I'd say all of the time when we're in this heightened state, we're not safe in our bodies. That's why we dissociate. That's why we avoid. That's why we distract. So that's why we feel that disconnection piece. So let's actually take a moment to feel connected inwards. So through a meditation practice, a visualization, if that sounds scary to you because you don't slow down at all, let's just do a Pilates session. Let's do a yoga session. Let's do something that is still moving, still stimulating the brain a little because you're having to think and move. And it's still a bit of a doing, not so much of a being, but it's got a mixture of the two. Because I find that a lot of people, if this is, it's new for them and they haven't done a meditation, they get really stressed and scared about that. So let's just do something that controls the breath. We can do a body weight workout, but I really coach them through the breath, and that would get them connected in with their body. But you don't want to obviously get them to be too stimulated. So I'd probably say yoga, Pilates, those sorts of things first. But even if you're on a call with them, you can do simple exercises. Like my brother teaches Tai Chi, and he does this beautiful exercise where he sort of inhales and wraps his arms all the way up like open wings. And then when he exhales, he closes down the wings and he squats slightly down. So you're sort of doing a full body movement. And so you inhale, arms go up overhead, all the way up, and then exhale, hands come back down by your side, and you do a little squat down because it's a very grounding breath. And then as you do it, you keep going and you see if you can slow it down with the breath and see if you can bring the breath down into the belly. And after a few rounds of that, you're way more connected. That's a really good exercise to do before you eat because, problem is we're in our sympathetic all day and then we go and eat food, and a lot of people are eating food on the go and they're moving their body while they're eating. And our stomach is our second brain, and obviously a lot of our serotonin is involved within our gut, and we don't release the serotonin as much when we're in these heightened states. We're releasing adrenaline and norepinephrine and cortisol, which is then shutting down the gut, which is like pushing food down a tube that's actually blocked. So then we're getting bloated and all of these other health issues. And then when we have stomach issues, we end up getting lower back pain because it's referred pain back into the back. And yeah, so like just breathe before you eat.
I am like sitting here, like jaw open, like I do that every day. I don't
Do you?
even yeah, babe. Oh, wow.
Mm.
Okay. Please reach out to Lauren on Instagram if you have incredible de-bloat results from that amazing, profound fucking
Oh.
process. Okay, amazing. I love this.
Mm.
I feel like even gratitude walks, hey.
Oh, gratitude walk's the best. You
Yeah.
introduced me to that because that's so heart opening and then
Yeah.
also very connecting in with the body, especially when you're like tuning into your breath, tuning into your body, walking. So I love like meditation walks for
Mm.
people as well that struggle to maybe sit for a period of time and meditate. They can do a meditation walk. So let's count the steps or, tune into the pressure underneath your feet. All those sorts of things are really, really good as well.
Mine is blowing from all this conversation. Thank you
It's
so
funny. I
much.
didn't even realize I knew all this stuff until I start talking. So funny. I literally was on a mentor call before, my business coach, and I'm like to her, I think I need to rejig some of our services. I just don't know if I give enough value. And then talking to you, I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
you
there
do
it
know a
is.
lot.
There it is. The unconscious mind will just prick up. I'm the same, babe. I'm like, I don't
Oh,
even know what I'm doing. And then it's like, ding, 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 ding. I'm like,
yeah.
that's where it is. It's so integrated unconsciously. It's so powerful
Mm.
having all these skills and knowledge. I love this. Perfect. So, for if anyone wanted to work with you or find you, how do they find you? Everything will be in the show notes. But do you have anything
Mm-hmm.
up or anything like that?
Yeah, amazing. Well, look, I help both the individual and, whether you have a business and a team of people. So, we deliver workshops to groups or I work one-on-one. So I've done both. And you can follow my personal Instagram, which is Lauren underscore the stress solutionist, or you can follow our corporate work business, which is workplace PWI. So there are two Instagrams. You'll find me on there. And yeah, just DM me stress on either one of those accounts, and then we can just dive into kind of what's going on for you. I offer a 30-minute free consult and we can create a bit of a tailored plan because as you've probably heard already on this podcast, there's so much to this. It's not as simple as like, oh, we'll just do this and it's going to help. I mean, everyone's different. You're in different phases of the stress cycle. So much is creating this and everyone's different. Yeah.
Beautiful. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for jumping on.
Oh, thanks for having me.
This was so fun. I
This
appreciate it.
was
So
fun.
everything will be in the show notes. I'll make sure Lauren's podcast is there as well, like you and your partner's podcast as
Oh,
well.
yes. We're
Yeah.
just about to launch that officially because it was a different podcast for a
Okay.
different group. But we will be launching that in the next couple of weeks. So when this is out, it's probably going to be out and it's going to be called the Thriving Workplace Podcast.
Thriving Workplace Podcast. Okay.
Oh,
Amazing.
so
Well,
exciting.
any questions, feel free to reach out to Lauren. If you had any ahas, feel free to message us both. I would love to get more
Yes.
about this. And yeah, thank you so much, beautiful queen, for coming on. I appreciate you, my Leo, my little Leo. I fucking love you. And I'm so, honestly, so fucking proud of you. So
Oh, so much love for you, Claudia. Oh,
have a
thank you.
beautiful
Thank you.
day. Thank you guys for listening and have a wonderful day. Bye.